Hi friends, and welcome to my weekly live stream about the Uno platform. My name is Jérôme Laban. I'm the CTO of the open source project with the same name, and I'm spending about an hour every week talking about Uno platform and taking a look at all the new stuff that's been happening, or .NET or Visual Studio, or related technologies. And for the past few weeks, I've been taking a look at the Uno Playground, which is an application that we use to demo Uno platform on the web, where you can try out your XAML and other features directly running in the web, to take a look at what the Uno platform is able to do, with the ability to showcase some specific features that are available from Uno platform. And the current application that is published in production at current time doesn't have the support for C#, and I'm spending some time taking a look at how we can add that properly, so that we can have some more advanced scenarios available. And so in the past weeks, we took a look at how we can have the C# running, and that is running properly. And we ended up last week about talking about the source generators for C#, and where we found that we were trying one specific scenario, which was the support for, let me find that one, for some code generation, for, let me find that piece of code. That was for network APIs, and that are coming from Refit. And we found out that there was some inconsistencies in Refit that were not working properly. So we're going to try to adjust that, and let's go with a simpler, I hope, generator. And let's go take a look at that. So first, let's take a look quickly at what the application looks like with the different updates that we did in the previous weeks. And this will be interesting. So I do have some small updates that were coming along the way to get the code running, and I don't need that. And the application looks like this. So we do have a few pieces of code in there. And if I remember correctly, I still have a small sample that I had previously that had some more interesting code. There you go. So you have some XAML that's in on that side. You have some C# that's available in here, as well as some data, which is the data context that's passed to the code that's available on the right. And when we change some code here, so for instance, I have my XAML button. When I click on the button that's in here and click me, it doesn't, in here, it doesn't do anything because it fails. And if I remove the code that we added last week, which was the support for Refit, it should be running properly. Let me remove this so that it compiles properly. And we can see that it does a click 3 here, and it updates the UI accordingly with the code that was compiled locally. So that's the particularly important part. The code is compiled locally. So I see that there are some regular people that have joined the stream. Hi, Jose and McNitz. Thanks for joining. And so let's continue. So we have our sample here, and what we're going to do now is try to get to some point where we have a let's say a more advanced example of MVVM. So you may know about the MVVM toolkit. And the MVVM toolkit has a set of generators that allow for generating properties like the support for iNotify property change and observable properties, and it avoids having to generate all the iNotify property change and other pieces like this, and make your code leaner and not have too much to write in your source, and have all the plumbing codes that's there. So that's what we're going to try to do now. So in our playground, we're going to need to import a NuGet package that contains the MVVM toolkit. So to do this, we need to go and find the actual NuGet package for MVVM toolkit. So let's go find that one. So if we take a look at the MVVM toolkit here, MVVM package. So that's the community toolkit MVVM. And we're going to import that package, and we're going to take a look and see if our source compiler is handling the whole that specific NuGet package properly. So we're going to go take a look at how it's built and see what we can get working. So we're talking about community toolkit MVVM 8.1.0. So let's include 8.1.0. Let's see if we have downloading that works properly. Let's see, it doesn't do anything here, so maybe there's something that didn't work when building, maybe. Okay, so we're seeing that refit is not valid, which is fine. Okay, so the community toolkit MVVM has been imported by the looks of it. Yeah, you can see here that it has been imported properly. And now what we want to find is we have source generators here. So what is supposed to be what's supposed to be working here? So let's do something like this. So we're gonna add a constructor to that class. Nope. What did I do? Nope. Probably. Okay. My control. Oh, looks like when I'm typing it too fast, looks like the focus goes to the other location. So let's remove the auto refresh for now. So I have my control, and I'm gonna create another class next to it, and I'm gonna call that my view model. And I'm not gonna add anything to it, and we're gonna create a property in this using the observable property attribute that allows to have a single field that becomes a full property that we can data bind to. So the namespace for this should be observable property. So it's community toolkit MVVM. Okay, the path is this one. So we're gonna add that this way. I don't know why the path is not the right one, but so we're gonna be using that at the top. And so probably missing a few things here. Component model, maybe. Is that the right? That's not community toolkit, probably with a capital T. There you go. So that works properly. I'm curious. Unnecessary using that's pretty nice, because the compiler is telling us that we're not using those three usings here, but we're going to be using it soon. So let's continue. So let's do, well, simple property name here, and use the default sample that it provided. So if I do this and if I compile, it works properly. It says that the private field is not used, which is fine. Nullable annotations is not available here as well, which is correct as well. I could probably add that nullable at the top, maybe. If I do this, does it work? It should. It does work, and the warning's gone, so that's good. And we're going to be creating that view model using a simple constructor for now. I'm not going to do a record. We're going to try that afterwards. My view model. So you can see that there's a basic IntelliSense that's available already. And that's one that's coming from Monaco editor. So it takes pieces of code that's already available in the current editor. And that provides basic auto-completion. We're going to try later on during this stream to add support for bigger IntelliSense using the Roslyn APIs and see what we can get working there. So we have our name here, and name or field is supposed to be called name like this without the caps. So does it compile? It does compile. Okay. So what we should be able to do now, and I'm not too sure if the underscore name is used. Okay, so I see Nick, that's a nice question, and Jose as well. Jose asked, see with the question above. We will start a new app using Windows, Linux, and Mac OS. We'll try to use Uno and Avalonia. Could you help me with giving some advice for Uno platform? Well, that's something that you can find on our website. So it's probably best if you have very specific questions. That's the kind of thing that's best to ask on our discussions. So if you need specific advice, that's we'll do our best to answer. And McNess is asking, shouldn't my view model inherit from observable property and declare as partial? Most likely, yes. And this is curious because at that point, that means that we're probably not generating anything and it should have failed, and it doesn't. So if it doesn't, that means that the generator is not found. So we're going to try to figure out where we're missing our generator. And that could be because that the code that we have currently is not doing anything. So we have our, let's store our URL here. And let's go and figure out why we do not have any generator available. So that's a good catch, McNets, indeed. So our compiler is probably not doing anything with analyzers, and we can see here that it's trying to do, we had an explicit search for refit here, which is completely incorrect in that case. So we're gonna do something that's a bit more generic with regards to finding generators that are available. And I don't know what the structure is for analyzers here. Oh, I can see that there's already some interesting manipulation done by the compilers there. By the tooling. So you can see here that there are some things that are done to find out which generator should be used. And my assumption is that somewhere in there's a bit of manipulation with the analyzer. Okay, so we have the analyzer here that is removed, but do we have something that adds analyzers the right way? Include analyzers, community MVVM. So this is not supposed to be a standard from what I do know, but Roslyn. Yeah, we are removing some of the analyzers if we're below Roslyn 4, but there should be something that removes some of the analyzers if they're not the right version. Let me see. I'm probably gonna have to do something specific for that particular one because we can't execute the misbuild targets to determine the environment, so you're gonna have to do some specifics there. Maybe that means that because there are some pieces of MSBuild that are run to determine which generator should be used, maybe we're going to have a specific syntax here at the top to say which generators we should be using, because sometimes we can't know as a result of this particular part. And it's something that's missing from Roslyn, by the way. When you're defining an analyzer, the Roslyn doesn't know which one to use, and then it kind of picks up what it wants, and that's a problem. So okay, so let's go and find. We're gonna search for the path, and we're gonna take that generator specifically because we're already on Roslyn 4.3, so we're gonna pick up that one. Okay, so the path is this one. So let's go here. So we had analyzers, and we were searching for that specific path. Okay, so let's for now just clear. We're gonna change the whole thing manually for now, just to see if it works, because last week we were not able to see if it actually worked, kind of in a derived way. Without that was not the right generation. We're gonna actually test that it actually works this time, and we're searching for. So we don't have multiple ones, but so let's see. We have analyzers, and we're going to search for that specific path. So it's analyzers.net Roslyn 4.3. Roslyn 4.3. So that runs 4.3 that way. Okay, so let's see if we change it that way, if we get something that works properly. So this is something that's going to have to be, streamlined in some sense, because we can't have all packages that do have generators available included in here. So we're going to have to change this. Oh, and the file name is not the right one. You probably should be taking all DLLs as part of generators. That's probably the best way to handle it. Okay, so let's do it. Let's do this again. So if we build, we should be getting a new version of it. And we should be able to test out if our generators are working properly. Okay. Okay, so we have a lot of analyzers, and we get package assembly, and we're searching for analyzers in that file, which we did find, which is good. Now, do we have something? Okay. Specified cost is not valid, so that was something different. And we don't have anything to show. So is it because we have a compilation issue, which may be the problem? Okay, specified cost is not valid. Okay, so while searching for the analyzers, we have a problem because we have an issue with the generator. So we have a cast for the get generator that tries to get something that doesn't work for some reason. And we shouldn't be failing that way. And we're at, do we have a line number? We don't. Okay, so we're in generators. So in two arrays that in get generators. Get get generators, and we have a two array somewhere. So that's the one. And we're trying to get to create an instance of something that has a generator attribute, but for some reason it's not giving us the right instance. So let's go take a look at the content of the assembly. See if we do have something interesting. So to find this out, we can do. I think we upgraded to the latest Roslyn, if I remember correctly. I think just to be sure, we're at Roslyn 4.5, so that should be working fine. So let's go and analyze that assembly and see what we do have inside. Okay, so we found a few generators, and we have, let's say, an observable dependency generator. So that one is transitive member generator. And it's a non-incremental generator. Okay, so that is interesting. Incremental generator, and I don't recall if the incremental generator is doing something different. Okay, so let's pick the one from the previous version that may not be incremental. Maybe that's going to be easier for now. So incremental generators are about not generating too much, particularly if nothing changed. So you have the ability to provide a state of what the generator is going to be using to generate code. And that allows for the compiler to determine if something needs to be generated again. But for some reason here, it doesn't look like it's working. So let's change the generator and use the older ones, the 4.0 instead. So we're not using the incremental generators for now. And that may be the case because we're trying to get to an incremental generator where we should be getting an I generator. So that's probably the reason why it fails that way. Something that we're going to have to adjust when we're doing the generators instantiation. Another part that's interesting is that we have we're getting generators, but when we're using the generators, we're supposed to be providing that to Roslyn directly, and the API that's doing the C# subdriver generator is taking iSort generator and not incremental generators. So I wonder if there's another one that uses incremental generators that I haven't seen. There you go, incremental generator. So there are multiple APIs for that. Okay, so we're gonna have to fiddle around with that once. Maybe we can try to fix this later on. Okay, so I have my update here. Does it fail again? Yeah, it does fail again. It probably the generator was available, was incremental as well. So we're going to try to fix this and use the normal generators, the incremental generators instead. So that means that we have two types of generators that we can get. The first one being the standard generator, and the other one with being an incremental generator. So that means that we're going to have to split the list in two, and there's no base class for those. So I think we're gonna return a list of objects instead, assuming that we can create the instances properly, which may be interesting. So we have generators here, and we're gonna split those into two, I think. Okay, so let's make a record of this, because it becomes so the return will be a resolve NuGet package. Resolve NuGet packages. Okay, so we do have to add those two. So there are two types of generators. There are normal generators and incremental generators. And incremental generators. So you're gonna get two types of generators, and then we can return this instead, so that it makes the signature a bit nicer. And then we have assemblies. We have source generators. So the source generators is supposed to be an object, and then we're gonna do of type iSort generator. So we're gonna get only the normal generators, and then do the same thing again, but this time for incremental generators. So we're gonna get two arrays out of this. There, we should have this go away, hopefully. There. Okay, so we have our two generators available, and then now what we need to do is take those two and use the proper C# driver generator to generate the code. So given that we have incremental generators available. So what I don't know is the API that's available to do just this. And by the looks of it, it doesn't look like we can have a mix of generator and incremental generators. So it may be that we need to execute both. So unless there's a way to do this, but doesn't look like it from what I can see. Okay. So it doesn't look like it. So we're going to have a standard driver, and then we're going to do a second incremental. We're going to do an incremental driver. Incremental driver diagnostics. And so we're doing for the generator first generators, and then the second one is going to be incremental generators, and hopefully it should not fail. Hopefully. And we want an enumerable of something that doesn't work. So let's go back to generators. Okay, so it uses a params of incremental generator array without the parse options for some reason. There you go. Okay, so we have the incremental driver. So we're taking the first compilation that we have for the sources that we get, and then we are compiling it. We're going it through. We're putting it through the first generator driver for the non-incremental generators, and then a second part with the incremental generators. So that's the two parts, and then we should get something out of it. So it should be failing with the sources that I currently have, because as McNets on the audience said, we're missing a partial and a few additional other things. So let's see if we get that working properly. Okay, so it's building, which is good. So I need to refresh. Probably gonna have to fix that bug, which prevents the code from showing up. Okay, so it's compiling. We have some context, some content running, but we don't have anything available here. So that means that our generator somehow did not get executed properly. We have 7 generators, but maybe the reason for this to not be taken into account is maybe because we don't have the observable. I think so. It was supposed to be observable object. I would think. Observable object. Let's go see if we add the observable object, if it helps. Okay, so observable object. Okay, so now it means that the generator is actually running, because it says that there's another declaration of that class, because we are now inheriting from observable object. That so that looks like it's the trigger for the source generator to actually run. That the class is inheriting from observable object, and we now need to add a partial modifier. So let's do this. That works better. I see Morning Before Coffee is around. Hello, thanks for joining. And we have our partial running. So this time we don't have any warning or error for compilation, so that's good. So that means that we should be able now to add some change the data context here to be our my view model with a string. There you go. And we should be able to add some text block that data binds to our data context. And that uses test. Okay, is it what we had? Yes, it was what we had. So test4, it is test4. Okay, so now what we do have, and that's very interesting. So we have the generators for the community, the MVVM community toolkit that are running as part of the playground, and we can see here that we are able to get the data from a property that's called name, that's generated from this observable property, and that means also that we should be able to use one of the 2 methods that are available and generated automatically, which are unnamed changes and unnamed changed. And so there's that. And we should be able to what should we be able to do? So there's 2 things that we should be able to do. So we can put those 2 methods. That's the first one. So console's not available for some reason, probably because I have not added system. So let's add system. So there is it. There it is. So we have name changing too. So probably when we change setting name. So this is not doing anything, but if we were to data bind that to a text box instead, we should be getting something different. Okay, so we have a text box, and now as we do have on name changing and unnamed change, if we change the text here, we should be having something that shows differences. So in there it doesn't. Is it because so our name changing and name change are the right ones? So that's not that. Maybe I do need to have a two-way binding, maybe. Two, of course it doesn't work. Okay, two-way. There you go. Okay, so it needs to be two-way. And what we do have now is that the on name changing, on name changed methods have been called as a result of the data binding changing here. So I have, when I change the focus, on focus loss, we have the new value that's been set to the underscore name member, so field, through the fact that we had a method generated by the source generator that's from the community toolkit, and the MVVM community toolkit that does all of those things for free. So that's pretty nice. So we're able to get source generators running for the MVVM toolkit. That's pretty cool. So we still need to have a few adjustments to make because of the fact that we don't know where generators are, and there are multiple generators available. So we may not be able to select which one is actually running, but that's pretty cool. So one of the other things that we could do, so what should we be able to do second? So there's that part, notifying dependent properties. There are a few other things that we can do. Oh, that is nice. So let's say if we do have another property, let's try that one to see if it works as well. So I do have a full name property. So I should be able to data bind the full name as a text block below. Text block doesn't have the same name, and we're calling that full name. Okay, so it doesn't have anything, which is what I expected. Now, if we take that notify property change for, and we use full name instead, and do we have anything? So maybe not. I don't know if the changing here is going to do anything, but let's see. Okay, it doesn't have changed. So maybe it's because full name doesn't exist, or maybe it's different. Name of full name. Okay, so it's not doing anything. Maybe full name is correct. Full name is incorrect. Oh, did I write it the wrong way? No, I wrote it the right way. So it's an actual full name. So that should be the right one. So I have full name here. So that's me. So full name is correct because it's a property that is generated. That is generated as part of the source generator. So it should be good. But maybe there's something else that I haven't seen. So notify property change for full name. Maybe I'm reading the thing wrong. So if I set, it says the property name. Oh, it changes the property it changes the property the name of the property change, but probably not what I want here. And I'm not sending full name either, so it's not doing anything. So let's say I do name changing, and I change. So let's try it. If I do full name equals name, so it's the new value plus datetime dot now. Does it do toString? Yes, it does toString. There you go. Okay, so it is actually working. So now I have changed I have changed the field, and because of name changing, and there's a notify property change for full name, it actually also calls the property changed for full name, which is bound to this property, and it updates the binding here. So that's pretty nice. Okay. So we got the generators running, and that means that there's a lot of interesting things that should be available as well. I don't know. So there are generators that are coming from the runtime, from the SDK, like the regular expression generators, and a few others like this, like the TypeScript import and things like that. So those are interesting, but it doesn't look like we're integrating those. I'm not even sure if we provide them as part of the runtime. But anyways, we could probably add that in a next version. Okay, so that's the first part. We got the source generators running in the browser, completely locally using C# and .NET, and nothing else. So that's really nice. Okay, so that's our cool sample here. So that's our second sample. So now what I want to add, because with the good experience, you can see that when you're typing something, you have basic IntelliSense, which is nice, but it's probably not enough if you want to have a better experience. And what I want to do is go and poke at being able to have, let's say, if I do value, for instance, I type value. I'm not too sure why that's something I wanted to see. Okay, so that works. If I do value dot, and then here nothing happens. So maybe we should be able to have something with autocomplete that we can get, like an explicit autocomplete maybe. And for that, we should be able to go and poke at Roslyn to determine if we can get something interesting there. And OmniSharp is doing parts of that. And I don't know if we can get to some code that does that kind of IntelliSense. So let's try to figure it out. So OmniSharp, and if we go on GitHub, we're going to try to go and find that code. And I think actually let's clone the whole thing, because it may be a bit too difficult there. Let's clone that. Let's clone OmniSharp completely. Shouldn't be too big. And we're gonna figure out where OmniSharp is doing IntelliSense, and we're gonna try to poke at the part where that comes from. So the interesting thing here is that the Monaco editor that's embedded into WebAssembly in that context has the ability to provide it's not called IntelliSense, it's called completion. So we're going to try to piggyback into that part and get some code completion providers. So you can see here that we have a XAML language provider here, but we should be able to create another one that goes further and provides completion for C#. So that's what we're going to try to do. Okay, so in OmniSharp, I don't know if we have a I don't know if we're I don't even know if we're looking at the C# part of the code here. Oh, it's probably just that's the C# part of OmniSharp. So that's not the one that we need to look at. So probably would be the OmniSharp server. We have a language server protocol here. Some parts that are interesting. Okay, so let's clone that one as well, and let's go and poke at what's coming from Roslyn here. I do know that some parts of Roslyn are private to OmniSharp, so maybe we're not going to be able to to get exactly what we need, but let's try to see if we can get at least parts of those. So if we can't, we're going to try to do something a little bit smaller, but let's figure it out. Okay, so in our language, we have a language server here, and we can find some of the options. So let's see. Language server, client settings. We have client capabilities. That's not what we need. We have the messages here. So we have the pipelines, not interesting. We have language server, protocol, receiver. We have a language client. That language client, it looks like is doing the same things. We have a resolver. We have a command matcher. I don't know what that is. We have handlers, language server helpers. So that's, I don't know what that is. Register handlers. Some registrations, not particularly useful here. So what is it? So let's see if we do have a dependency on Roslyn here. Maybe there isn't, so we need to find one that actually references Roslyn. So that one is not referenced Roslyn, so that's not going to be useful. So maybe there's another project that does this. So we have protocol and we have shared. So shared, does it reference Roslyn? Doesn't either. And we have protocol. Protocol looks more interesting. So if we go for Net6, for instance, do we reference Roslyn? We still don't. Okay, so that means that it's another project that does the querying. So it may be another project that we need to go and clone. Okay, so we have OmniSharp Roslyn. So maybe it's just plain Roslyn OmniSharp. It comes from. Let's clone the third one. OmniSharp autocomplete. There's an OmniSharp autocompletion project for Vim. Yes, there is indeed. That would be another one that we can take a look at to see if we can get the. Oh, no, not that one. Clone repository. So there's. It's not too big either. We have OmniSharp. Let's go for OmniSharp. Just the plain. Just the biggest solution. We have the language server protocol. Okay, so that's another one that's interesting. Are we referencing anything here? So we're not referencing. We're referencing OmniSharp language server. That's not the one that we want. We have .NET, MS Build, Roslyn C#. That looks interesting. Roslyn C#. Code actions. Okay. Services, diagnostics, highlight, semantic. Okay, so that looks better. Completion. Completion list builder. Okay. That looks good. We have the build completion items. We have get change, committed characters. Okay, so that is interesting. So we have the change for the text and span. So we know where we are. We can build completion items async. What do we have other here? Other methods. We have committed get completion kind. So that would be used by build completion items async. So that completion item is something that is coming from the language server protocol. And that is something that is generally found by, yeah, there you go. So that is it. So you have what is being changed, the kind of change that can be made, the details of the change, and things like that. So it gives you what you can do with regards to how what is going to be changed, particularly when you press, you would say, Control Dot, then it gives you a list of possible changes that you can make with the completion, and that's how you can get that. And so we're going to have to build a list of the completion items that we have here, and it's pretty similar to what we have in the playground here with the completion list. We have the same document, position, and completion context, and then we can ask Roslyn what to change when we get there. So if we go back to our build completion item list, we should be able to find a few providers. So we can see here that there's one that does override completion, partial method completion. Then there's what is this one? Completion info. Okay, so this one does a lot of things. I'm trying to find one simple invocation of Roslyn that could give us some type of possibly snippetize insert text. That's not the one that I want. No. So we have we can get the text, but that's not what we need here. We need the additional text edits, completion item. Okay, C# completion item. So that's the one that is coming from Roslyn. So maybe we're too far already. So source text. I'm too far. Get completion info. So completion here. Completion. Oh, we're actually too far already. Basically, the completion list is already built there. So we're too far. Build completion items list. Yeah, the completion list is already available, so that would be this one, and this is coming from get completion async from the Omnichart completion service. Okay, and this is pretty deep. Let's go find this one. Get completion with availability of expanded items async. Okay. We have filter providers, triggers. We have a lot of syntax. Okay, so it looks like it's going to be a little bit more complicated than expected because there's a lot of APIs to get there. So there are a few things that are available as part of the Roslyn API that can say, give me a list of completion items based on the current symbol, for instance. So we're going to try to find those instead, because this is a bit too complicated for a live stream. So get completion, context, computer, trigger syntax. Should trigger completion, so that one is a bit too complex. That doesn't work either. Okay, so if we can't get that, we can go to the compilation. So let's go figure out on our side if we can get something interesting. So with our compilation, so let's say I'm taking a look at our output compilation. So I think we're returning that compilation outside, or are we? We're not. Okay, so we're not returning the compilation, and we should be. So let's return the compilation because we're going to be needing this for the code completion. So that's our compilation here. It's not a variable that exists. Okay. Okay, so we have our compilation, and then we can go and try to figure out if we get something. So I know there are some APIs that can do completion, and with kind of fuzzy determination of syntax based on a symbol. But I'm not too sure if it's part of this. So maybe I think there's something that's called symbol search, maybe. No, it's symbol factory, or no, it's not that one. So it's a top level class. Symbol display. No, it's not that one. So we have symbol display. Play part symbol filter. That one would be interesting, but that's not that one exactly. The symbol finder. There you go. Okay, symbol finder. Okay, so in symbol finder you have the ability to do find symbol at position to determine what that is. We have the find similar symbols, but it may not give you. Let's see if we can find a symbol finder in Roslyn. Maybe there's something that we can use there. So we have the go-to definition, so that's interesting. We have find implementation, go to definition, rename service, type lookup. That's not the one. Okay, so that's not exactly the one that we want to search for, because it only will be giving us the ability to get the symbols at that locations. That's not what we need. So maybe there's another piece that we can get there. So we have the provider manager, filter provider. The completion list pruning, which is interesting. That's not what I need here. Is there another method that's interesting here in that class? We have handle completion response, completion resolve response, completion insert after response. Okay, so that would be an insert after, maybe. C# completion service. Okay. Okay, so that completion service is something that we may be able to use because it comes from Roslyn. So are we able to use this in our application? It may be an internal API, so we'll see if we can get something out of it. So I do have my compilation here, so we're just going to be getting compilation results. So if there are no diagnostics here, let's do something here to determine if we can get the completion service available. Okay, so I've added the whole Roslyn set of assemblies, and I don't know if it's gonna be enough to get something available, but let's see. So we have document, we have C# Roslyn completion service, but that's not the one. Okay, so where does it come from? It comes from Microsoft Code Analysis features. Okay, so that one is not good enough, which probably means that we have not integrated it, so it may not be there. So it's in an assembly that's called Code Analysis features. So let's add that assembly. Do we have access to features? I don't know what document is, but we're going to try to find out if that's something that we can use. Okay, so C# completion service is not available, even though we added this. It's a public type, so I would have guessed that it would be available anyways. So maybe we're not getting it from the right assembly. So or the right package. So maybe it's another one. We have C# feature. Ah, that's the one. Okay, so it's C# features. So maybe I need to change that. Okay, so C# features. Packages were restored. Common Visual Studio. Okay, still no availability here. So maybe we have another package that we need to use. I'm not too sure. Okay, so that's not the one. I added it at the right place, so it should have been working. So maybe it's the one. So maybe that helps. Okay, so what is that link? So completion service. Okay, so that's the generic one that's coming from Microsoft Code Analysis Completion. So that's the base class of the C# completion service. But maybe, and that's where we don't have something, is that the C# completion service is not available to us either. Maybe, not too sure there. So still, it's public, so it should be available. So if we search for code analysis here, so that's the thing. So when you press F12, it used to go to and tell you where the assembly was, but now it's just the source of that file of that assembly, and it doesn't tell you where the assembly is. So we have to find where that one is. So Microsoft Analysis features, and that's not the one. Probably a dependent features. That would be that one. Code analysis features. Okay, so it's inherited from, it's transient from this particular package, but for some reason I'm not getting it. So why is that? So let's see, in our dependencies, I do have supposed to be having it, but it looks like it's not. Microsoft Code Analysis, C# features. Okay, so I do only have that one. I have Code Analysis features. Okay. That is curious. So I do know that some of those features are completely hidden and supposed to be used by just OmniSharp and Visual Studio, unfortunately. So we may not be able to replicate the behavior, at least not using the ROS and APIs directly. So if that's the case, we're gonna have to do something different. No, it's not the one. That's not the path that I wanted. And let's see. So we're searching for an assembly that is located into Microsoft Code Analysis completion. Oh, completion's available. And it's supposed to be completion service. Okay, so it's there. But maybe it's not the C# completion service that I don't have access to. But that's interesting because it's so it's driving me to completion service. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so it's using completion service. It's I didn't notice about that part. So maybe that's the part that I'm missing there. If I do just completion service that way, that was what you were pointing at to MakeNet. So let's use that instead. Okay, so I do have the completion service, and I still don't know how to use it. So let's go poke at what OmniSharp is doing with it. Completion service. So we got a completion service here, and we can get text exchange async. change document last completion item. Okay, so we have to have a completion item. Okay, so the completion service is giving us what needs to be changed, what has been changed, but not what needs to be changed. So it's kind of a partial way to go. It's not good enough. So we need to find where those completion items come from. Okay, so those come from the completions here. And those completions are coming from cached list. Gas cache list completion items. So okay, so not particularly interesting here. We have to find where that comes from. Yeah, that's cached completion list, cached entry, completion list. So who's using that? You have the import completion list builder async. The completion list span. Yeah, the word span here. Okay, so that's a bit too much. I thought it would have been easier than that to include. It's too large for a stream like this. So let's change gears and do something else. So what we had before, so when we go back to our generator, to our playground, so we have everything that is available here. So we have the XAML that's working, the C# that's working, and we have the saving is working as well. We have the IntelliSense not IntelliSense is working, but we have the ability to highlight syntax error, so compilation error, so that's good. We don't have that list, so maybe we should be adding some list at the bottom to mention that there are compilation error that may happen. So there's this. So what else could we do? So we have that is available. So we do know that those parts are working. We had the problem with the fact that the reflection was not working properly in some contexts. Like for instance, refit was not working, but that's not something that we can change currently. That may not be the right things to fix at this time. So we have the generators working. So could we do analyzers maybe? I don't know if there are analyzers that are available as part of a community toolkit. Actual analyzers. So we have generators, but not analyzers. So that's not those that are needed. I do know that we have some inside of Uno. So those are part of Uno, but I don't think we're not packaging those as part of the build here, so it's not going to show up. But let's see, maybe we can package it. Maybe we can package it as part of our current implementation. So this is something that is referenceable from the outside. It's not, and that's interesting because we don't have it. So we may be able to reference it from NuGet, from Uno, from the outside. And that may cause some trouble. So let's try it. I don't know what that will do, because it's the analyzer that we do have are part of Uno, but if we reference Uno as part of our current build, it may do some weird things here. So if I do Uno UI and then I do 4.7, I think it's 47. I don't remember the exact version. .44. Okay, so that's 44. And we're downloading and extracting. So there's a lot of files in that package, but that should be fine. Okay, so it says object doesn't match the target type. And that means it probably tried to load something that was not in the right place. And, oh, that's not the one. That's interesting. I'm copying and it gives me that reference. So let's see. That's interesting. Object does not match the target type, but we don't have the complete output. So is it because we are not? It's probably because we're loading too much. Okay. So we have a lot of files that are coming from the Uno package, and we could probably just ignore those for now, saying that because we're already compiling against Uno because it's part of the current project. Actually, that's quite interesting because we were not referencing Uno, but maybe we can do something about it. So that's the interesting thing about the playground is that the .NET SDK that we have here already has Uno integrated. So we're downloading Uno as part of the whole package. But now that we can reference NuGet packages from the outside, maybe we can remove those files and have the ones that are coming from the NuGet package from the outside. So let's try to change that and see if it helps. So we have our shared project here, and we're going to be removing the Uno files and see if we can get them running from the Uno package that's downloaded from. Oh no, it's interesting. What did I do? So those files are coming from some other location. Uno SDK source, and that's the one. Okay, so let's remove those files and see what we can get. So what that will do is that the compiler will get the Uno assemblies from the NuGet package and not from the files that are part of the playground itself. And we'll see what that does. I'm curious to see what that will do. Okay, so we're going to add a second line. And we're going to add uno.ui and the version that we have here. So we have Uno, that's part of Uno CLR. Okay, so for some reason, we're trying to get some files. Okay, so that looks like we may need to clear our storage because the file that we have currently is not the right one. So what happens here is that we have a file that contains all the assets that are part of the site. And if we have a lot of files that have been loaded, and those files are not supposed to they're not necessarily updated every time the application loads up. So we're just going to be clearing everything, and we can get the whole data downloaded again. But for some reason it's still doing it. Maybe we should be clearing some other part, or maybe that file is not generated again. That could be. So that file is files list. So is it updated properly? Do I have that list somewhere? Playground shared on that SDK. Okay, so let's go take a look at maybe it doesn't include everything, so we can go poke at that file from that location, maybe. File list. Okay, file list is still containing Uno. Okay, so that explains the issue. It's supposed to be regenerated, but no, we can do it manually for now. Oh no, the file is generated again. So it looks like we're still generating that file. Why are we generated that file again? Oh. Oh, okay, it's because it didn't save the file. That's why. Okay. I may need to unload the project. No, it's not saved for some reason. Maybe it's because the process is still running. Oh, that was why. Okay, so it's probably because of some hot reload process that was locking the C# project. So we can try again. Okay. We're still loading up files. What do I have? Do I have content now? Okay. Okay, so it kind of doesn't work, and I'm wondering if it's because the files that are part of the Uno package are conflicting with the rest of the existing Uno project. So that may very well be because it's supposed to be displaying something that doesn't. It says, oh no, it doesn't compile. That's another good reason. Program doesn't contain a static. It says Windows cannot be found. Oh, that again, because I missed the reference at the top. So I probably should be saving that so that we don't type it every time. Okay, so downloading again, extracting Uno, got the compilation. Okay, so it doesn't match the type. Okay, so that may be a very good reason because the Uno that comes from the NuGet package is not the same as the one that comes from the playground itself. So we're probably going to have to do this. Okay, so that's interesting. So we're probably going to be continuing this next week, where we're going to be changing how the importing Uno should be ignored when it comes from the NuGet package and use the Uno version that's part of the playground itself, but still use maybe not the generators because some of them are not useful, but at least the analyzers. So let's say if you're trying to use a feature that comes from Uno that's not supported, that will be available at that location. So that's something that we can try to do. So that's it. That's it for today. That was deep in the weeds of code completion in Roslyn, but we're making progress, and we do know now that source generators can run, and that is going to be something particularly interesting for Uno Reactive and other features that we're developing as part of the Uno platform, which do extensive use of source generation. So it's going to make some very interesting samples as part of our playground. So that's it for today. Until next week, happy coding, and till next time, bye.